So in this video I had the idea to show how I carve a spoon. So you will see it and I will talk about it as it goes. I thought maybe this is interesting for someone not necessarily to see the technical process, but just to see what I'm thinking while I'm doing these things. And here I was in the park looking for a suitable piece of wood, and I found a nice piece. There's quite a lot of wood in the local park near me, so I'm very lucky. When the trees are felled, they're often left lying on the ground in small pieces, and this one was just right. It was still rather heavy, which told me it was still nice and workable and not yet dried out. I really like this part of the process, just walking around and looking around for wood and being outside. I do most of my work outside, apart from the knife work. Sometimes I do that at home, but generally if the weather is nice and it's warm enough, or even if it's not, but if it's not raining, I really love to be outside. And this spot here is where I've been doing it for the last years, I think, nearly a couple of years. So there's a good pile of wood chips lying around there because over the time it adds up. You do a few spoons and suddenly you've done a few hundred, as was the case with me. And I like visiting the same spot again and again and seeing it change throughout the year. In summer, it's obviously very green. Now it's just coming into spring and the first trees are just starting to get their leaves coming out, and I think in a few more weeks or a month it'll all be very green here in the spot where I am. So I really love that about it too. And yes, I cut my wood after deciding where was the best place to cut it, and then I split it. And as you can see in this piece of wood, there's already a slight bend, so I decided to use this to form the crank of my spoon. And I never have a mallet with me, so I end up generally finding a random piece of wood, or here I've used the other half to use as my mallet to help split the wood. So there's disadvantages to just doing it outside, but I think the advantages are much more for me. Now I'm a bit hidden here in the park, so it's a big city park, but this is not where a track is, so I'm pretty secluded, even though every now and again some people do walk past with their dogs, or sometimes some kids, and I often have people looking at me wondering what I'm up to, chopping away. And every now and again someone asks me, "What are you doing?" I really enjoy that. But more than not, people kind of look from a distance and keep walking. Maybe the fact that I'm swinging an axe or something, they think it's maybe dangerous. But I love talking to people. Kids are normally the ones that are even more interested and come up and ask, "What are you doing?" And that's very nice for me to show them what I'm doing. And often I have some spoons in my bags that I can show them, this is what it ends up with. And quite often if it's kids, I'll even give them a spoon. And it's a nice feeling to randomly give someone a gift like that. So here I'm just roughly already axing out the shape of my spoon, and I did have an idea in my head. I can remember I wanted to make a cooking spoon, and I made one previously, which I really like the shape of. But generally I make it up as I go. I know I want to make an eating spoon or a cooking spoon, for example, but what exactly I more or less decide when I'm there. And as it turns out here, the wood wasn't quite wide enough for what I initially had in mind. So as you can see, I spend quite a bit of time just looking at the wood and seeing what sort of possibilities I have with the piece of wood in front of me. And obviously if I have a very set idea, then I have to find that exact piece of wood to suit. But today I wanted to just find a piece and make a cooking spoon out of it. And I like this part of it a lot, this kind of, giving it time and deciding as I go. And sometimes I probably stare at the piece of wood just as much as I work on it, but I like it. And it was a nice warm day we had here, so it just felt really good to be outside and chopping away. So as I work away on it, I get more and more clear as to what it might become. Sooner or later you kind of, well, I do decide, right? And this is when I draw the outline of the spoon on. Then I'm pretty clear to the shape it's going to be. And unless I make a mistake or I find a knot or something in the wood that changes the plans, once it's drawn on, I'm more or less set in what it's going to be. I guess this axe work took me 20 minutes or so, maybe a bit longer. And then I went to find another place with a bit more sun to carry on and do the knife work. And I had a bit of time on this day, so this is the same day. I just biked towards my house, and I've never done it here before, but there was this bench here with a lot of sun, so I figured I would just stop here. And I kind of like that also, not always working in the same place, because every spot has its own things happening, its own energy in a way. Different people walk past there, it's a different view, even though I don't take it in so much. I often zoned in on the spoon. When I do look up, it's different, and I like that. So here I am just taking material off. I work to my lines a bit more precisely and take off extra material with the knife. I often think when I'm outside I should stop to enjoy where I am more and the sun, and stop to take it all in and smell the roses, as the old saying goes. But more often than not, I just kind of zone in and want to keep going and don't take that many breaks. I don't know. I get this kind of energy and I just want to keep going. It comes. This was actually the next day because the battery died, and when I noticed it, I stopped carving. So the next day here was another nice day. And again, I found a new spot. I haven't carved here before, but super nice spot. And again, very quiet because it's early in the morning. I just dropped off my daughters at the kita. And then I biked to the park. And again, found a new nice spot to carry on where I left off the day before. So I generally do this after a break, even if it's minutes or days. I normally, before I start working, I will just spend some time looking at where I'm at, and this already gives me ideas what the next step is or anything I want to change. And once I kind of have that in mind, I more or less zone back into it and try and refine the shape even further from there. So this isn't quite as secluded as I was doing the axe work and on the other park bench. This is in the park and it's a bit more busy, even though it's early in the morning. And I didn't have anyone come and talk to me on that day. But funnily enough, just after I'd finished on this day, a woman came next to me. She was a bit of an older woman. And she, first started just chatting to me, which was really nice. She started the conversation, and that was really cool. And then she asked me what I'm doing, and I said carving a spoon, and I showed her a spoon. And it turns out she started telling me about her husband, who actually carved her a spoon 60 years ago, and she still uses that very same spoon until today, which was really cool to hear. That something made 60 years ago is still in use. And she even got quite technical on it and told me about the shape of the spoon, and that it has the flat front edge which she likes to scrape the pan. And that was super nice. And once her husband showed up, she asked him, hey, what sort of wood was that? And he, I don't know, he didn't know. He didn't seem that interested himself. He's a funny old guy, but it was nice. And these are the things I like, again, about being out and about outside, seeing people and talking to people. So I've hollowed out the bowl, roughly, and then I work on removing my lines and smoothening the top face from the bowl all the way up the handle. I think at this time I was thinking, what am I going to say in the video? What do I think about? And then it was quite a funny moment because I was thinking, do I think about the spoon and the wood while I'm carving? Or do I think about other things, such as what am I thinking about, or other things in life? And I tried to pay a bit of attention to it. And I really think it kind of goes between the two, where I stop and look and I'm totally focused in on the work I'm doing. And then at other moments, my mind wanders and I think about all sorts of things. as the work gets more technical, I obviously go more into the zoning in and focusing and thinking about the particular thing I'm doing. So here I'm just further refining, thinning the handle more and more. And this can take its time, but yeah, I generally don't rush. Although I've got faster over time with practice, I'm never trying to be fast. It just, with practice, gets a bit faster. But I focus more on trying to make the best spoon I can, rather than trying to make it as fast as I can. Here I checking for thickness and just deciding if I need to take off some more material or not. I can remember with this particular spoon, I was also wondering, I hadn't decided yet in my mind, what is this spoon for? Is it more of a cooking spoon or serving spoon or a bit of both? Quite funny to be so far down the progress, have done so much and still not quite sure what it's for. Probably not the best way to make the most useful spoon, but yeah, also nice not to over-analyze it. I remember thinking the natural crank in it was a bit too much for me. This was making it feeling more like a serving spoon, and I actually cut the front of the spoon off to make it less cranky and make it more of a cooking spoon in my mind. And saying that, it's still kind of a hybrid with space to serve, but definitely a good cooking spoon also. Sometimes I also think about the mess I'm making. Even though it's just wood chips, I'm still like, is this bad to leave a mess? Because generally I'm very against leaving a mess and leaving rubbish. This is obviously different, but still, it's still like I came and made this mess, and then I'm like, should I sweep it up or just leave it? I mean, it's only wood chips. Generally, I just leave it because, yeah, I think in a small matter of time, those chips will blow away and disperse. But for whoever comes next there, after I leave, I'm sure it's a bit of a mystery to what happened here. Why is there this pile of wood chips here? So here I actually finished the spoon. So I shake the wood chips off, and I generally stretch quite a lot and shake quite a lot because while I'm sitting working, it's quite a lot of tension happening. And yeah, I've got very used to just in between standing up and shaking and moving to loosen myself up again. So it's a nice feeling finishing a spoon. It gives us satisfaction. Yeah, that you took this raw material and turned it into something that someone can use for possibly 60 years or more. So I really, really love it. And yeah, it's fascinating how much it's become a part of my life in the last years. So while I was taking this shot, I actually had another spoon, a eating spoon, which I started chipping away on. I figured while this shot was being done, I might as well start on the next spoon. And that's pretty much how it goes.